Hey Technofreaks, Techno here. I'm going to try something new today. A little story. Forget Nuzlocke challenges. In a game of Blood Bowl, death is real and injuries can ruin your career. This is a story about my casual return to coaching probably the worst team in the world. May Nuffle help me. Now, when it comes to the art of eviscerating your opponent over a stuffed pig bladder that is Blood Bowl, I'm still pretty new. But in my first season, I managed to lead my first ever team Lizardpool Blood Bowl Club victory over 2 consecutive leagues. And that's me behind the big guy. Everything was going smoothly. We were 4 games away from qualifying for the Blood Bowl Cup, and I was on top of the world. Until that incident.
Tech. It must be amazing to have your team on the front cover and main article of Spark magazine.
Now, when it comes to interviews, I'm not the best. I sort of tend to go for the humour route to kind of get through them. Yeah. Finally something worth reading for once, eh?
Oh, you don't read, Spike?
I wouldn't say that. Spike magazine has been a lifesaver during those long toilet breaks. Especially when you have nothing else to wipe with. If I was to give past me some advice, it would be pay attention to who sponsors your team. And with that, my coaching days were over. Sad, depressed, I abandoned the game I love. What made matters worse, my new job wasn't so great either. Welcome to McCarthy's, home to the Deluxe Squig Supreme. Can I take your order? Hey, you're that dumbass coach who got himself canned for insulting his sponsors. Man, you really stupid. Yeah, living the life of a washed-up coach isn't so great. So, fast forward to closing. While at a local tavern, I found myself in drunken banter with an equally drunk yet very optimistic halfling by the name of Fredo Gimji. Now, most look down on a halfling, no pun intended, but I find them good people. We talked Blood Bowl, and that time Jub performed a blatant foul right in front of the referee's nose and still stayed on the pitch. And now Fredo himself had dreamed of being a star Blood Bowl player. Problem was, he needed a team. He also needed a stadium, and more importantly, he needed a coach. In hindsight, I should have seen the red flags, but after 3 kegs of Bloodweiser, everything's kind of red. So, some terrible singing about a skink maid and a wicked hangover later, I was now the proud coach of my first ever halfling team. Or one of him. Now, halflings aren't too hard to persuade. It's just treemen that are difficult. Luckily, rumours about the washed-up coach who's now looking for a new team spreads fast, and Fredo had halflings covered. So no more than a day had gone by, and we had 12 members to our team. Our treemen, Wudo Sudo and Treebeard, names that sounded oddly familiar to me. Fredo Gimji and his cousins, Frodo Bagfoot and his twin half-brother Minto Twintos, the village drunk Merry Dandyduck, the young upstart Libelo Smeagol, Ponto Pippin, a halfling of little words, the old codger Hilbo Bilberry, Tom Selleck, Tony Blur, and finally, our sub, Gobby the Jobber. With the team sorted, we used what very little we had to get our stadium, which I named Bag End, a cheap ploy to win over the otherworldly halfling fanbases throughout the universe, which hopefully that worked. Sponsors were easy thanks to McCarthy's. I even managed to convince my old assistant coach Chumu to jump to us, and one orc cheerleader team and an apothecary later, we were ready. Well, we needed a name, but we were ready. Upon registration for the NAF Autumn Championship, I dubbed us the Hobbiton Proudfoots, the one team to rule them all. Oh, and that's me behind the big guy. Before our first league match, I felt it would be a good idea to go up against some friendly competition. So I made some inquiries and pulled some strings, and while Spike may hate my guts, Lizardpool still had some love for their old coach. Plus, when they found out I was coaching halflings, they felt we needed all the help we could get. Now, I chose Lizardpool as our opponents because that mix of strength and agility is something that gives us a feel for other teams. Plus, I kinda wanted to stick it to Spike. The Proudfoots were nervous. Some of these guys had never even held a ball. And as their coach, I felt all it needed was some good old-fashioned tech pep talk. Alright, Lizardpool BBC. Rest assured this friendly is in name only. These guys know only one thing. Win at all costs. That's how I trained them, and it's how I'll train you. Now I won't lie, this will be brutal. Some of you may die. If you're lucky, you may be drinking gravy through straws for the rest of your lives. But we are Hobbiton Proudfoots. Quick, nimble, and we have tactics they will not see coming. So we're gonna go out there, and we're gonna show them what it means to be the one team that rules them all. Say it with me! In hindsight, I should have left the death and maiming parts out. So, after we rounded up the rest of the team, it was time to get out there and show Lizardpool who's boss. Clearly, it was them. Despite a good show of defense, even stripping the ball off Jub, a suicidal block from Frodo, and a few bad calls on my own part, allowed Jub the recovery and touchdown in just 3 turns. Thankfully, it was only Frodo we lost in that drive, and with a pretty shallow kick from Patches the Skink, our drive had begun. Pseudo began things by taking root and taking Crockings out for a turn or 2, while Treebeard pushed away Otalov the Pyramid, allowing Gobby to pick up the ball. Let me try that again. Allowing Gobby to pick up the ball and take cover behind Treebeard. Tom Selleck goes for an insane blitz, pushing Bam Bam out the way, and with the 2 trees giving Minto the cover, he tries to take the stunned Crockings out of the match on a more permanent basis. But with his kinetic force being the equivalent of getting hit in the head with a slice of ham, this did nothing. Luckily, there was no sending off. Lizardpool were closing in around us, boxing us in. Carnatult zipped in for a swift blitz on Gobby, ducking past Treebeard right into the ham of Fredo Gimji. Turn over. Now, with us boxed in and no real safe options, we went with the motto, go big or go home, and Treebeard scooped up Gobby in an attempt to yeet that little thick boy as close to the end zone as possible, with Gobby landing on his feet. This was it. Gobby started sprinting. Sadly, the throw was slightly off, so he only got 2 yards away from the end zone before he could go no longer. This wasn't a great position, and Jub could tell. The moment Crockings got back up and into the game, Jub went for the intercept, only to be tackled by Fredo, turning things over again and showing the star potential of this player. With this, we needed to thin the herd and provide cover for Gobby. After Merry pushed Patches away, Pseudo tried to imitate Treebeard's yeet, only to fail miserably. Luckily, no harm fell to Minto. Treebeard goes for a block on Watsa, but Nuffle was not on his side, and the reversal knocks Treebeard out cold. Turn over, with Gobby still in a vulnerable spot. Things were dicey, with Jub freeing himself to provide a blitz setup, and before Axisor could take his first step, Tony Blur makes the crucial tackle for the turnover. After another failed yeet from Pseudo, now stunning Minto, Gobby used that stunty frame to wriggle out and equalise. As our Orc cheerleaders danced and Gobby celebrated, electricity was in the air for something special. So much so that Treebeard came too. So we were back to 11 players. Liblo takes the kick, Lizardpool make a quick snap, and the ball goes out into touch. Again. So, Jub gets the ball, but with 2 turns left in the first half, if we just wall up, we will be fine. And despite Treebeard getting badly hurt, with some great dodges, we held up until halftime. At halftime, we were a tree and a halfling short as the teams came out, and I had a feeling they weren't the only casualties we were to suffer. With a high kick from Axelsaw allowing Gobby the time to catch the ball, our offense had begun. We form a semi-cage-like wall, keeping the linemen just out of range for any blocking unless it was a blitz. Wudo Sudo once again takes root and kicks Bam Bam to the curb, finishing our push for the moment. As the Skinks moved in a pack to block one side of the pitch, Gobby found an opening, and with some great team manoeuvring, Merry gets a blitz on Hovak and drops him near touch. And with one swift kick to Oltel from Wudo Sudo, it was Lizardpool's turn again. The Skinks move again to support their Saurus buddies and set a perimeter around our attempted screen, as Bam Bam and Carnatilt rip into Ponto, Pippin and Liblo Smeagol to free up Patches for the blitz, whilst Frido could do nothing but dodge Uatsa's frenzy again. Patches runs up and bashes Gobby, sending the ball flying into Tom Selleck's hands, keeping us in possession but putting him between a rock and a hard place. On our push, Merry bashes Skink Shah LaBeouf, who just narrowly sidesteps to stay in the tackle zones, giving Gobby the chance to get up and block Hovax's path, while Tom Selleck and Tony Blur run up the touchline side by side in an attempt to prevent Tom from being sent into the crowd. Once again, the Skinks were on the move, surrounding Tom and Tony, ready to pounce. Axelsaw goes in for a blitz, but Tom dodges, keeping us in the game. Uatsa goes into another frenzy, but Frido was ready. After he dodges the first rush, Frido goes in for a strike of his own. Both players knock each other down. Turnover, but at the cost of Frido being knocked out. With Wudo Sudo stunning Bam Bam and Tony Blur sending Axelsaw into the crowd, to which we would never see him again for the rest of the match, Tom went for one last blitz on Jub Jub, stunning the Skink and going for glory as fast as his little feet would carry him. 2-1. No one could believe it. We were winning, but what is the old saying? Never underestimate the heart of a champion. We were 3 men down, and the numbers were in their favour. We had a true fight in our hands, and in the 15th turn, Jub Jub would put the core back in our victory keg. At the end, the score was 2-2, and I could not have been more prouder. This was a team of green nobodies going up against seasoned stars, and for one moment we had made them have to dig deep and pull one back. We celebrated that night with a feast, and I felt more confident that at the end of our opening match against the Tricky Tricksters, everyone will know the Hobbiton Proudfoots. Okay guys, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this little story. It's something I wanted to try out for a while. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell thingy, and share this video with your friends. And tune in next time where we will continue our story with the opening match against the Tricky Tricksters. But until that day, this has been Techno Odin. Stay safe, claim skulls, and may Nuffle bless your dice.